Mr. P. I'm very excited for the show today and get it ready.
That's it.
Welcome to All About Love Talk Show. I am Mr. P. And today we have two guests, Mrs. Erika Holmes. Thank you for coming today. So how are you?
I'm good, Mr. P, and yourself.
I'm very well, thank you. And Mrs. Sharon Carlton, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Today we have four major topics that we talk about. The first thing would be what is the secret of the true love? Okay, Mrs. Erika Holmes, have you been in love before?
I have.
Okay. You mind to share your story with the public, please?
Been in love, and I thought that it would never end. But true love never dies. It happens again. I find myself in love again today in a relationship for 7 years now.
And Kel, what type of example can you share in? What with the public?
Being in love is, for me, having a good friend, communication, the most.
Okay. Mrs. Sharon,
Yes,
you been in love before?
absolutely.
Are you in love now?
I am in a state of love, of course, with my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But true love to me, it just has no boundaries. Like, sometimes we put a lot of emphasis on, things that people do wrong and how they act and how they react. But when you're truly in love with someone, those things really don't change the way you feel about them. And it actually is something where you experience that God kind of love, where, no matter what happens, no matter the storm, no matter what circumstances happen, you still stay, in that state of love with that person.
Great. What type of advice can you give to the public?
Well, I would actually warn them to really understand that you have to be very careful when it comes to thinking things are love and they're really lust, because there's a distinct difference, and there's some different consequences for when you think something is love and it's not. And it can be harmful to you. It can cause you emotional trauma. It can cause all kinds of issues and conflicts within yourself and questioning yourself. And most of all, it can cause you to create walls that should never be there.
Okay. And you, Mrs. Erika, what type of advice can you share to the public?
I will first say, get to know your mate. Understand his likes, his dislikes. Have a meet and greet to meet the family, most important, because that will become part of your family if y'all become in a relationship, doing lots of dinner parties and so forth. So you want to make sure that everyone has met and it's not like uncomfortable, And also just being able to be yourself with your mate, not to be, someone else. Be yourself.
Okay. Are you in love now?
I am.
Okay. And how long you been in love now?
7 years.
7 years. And what make your love be stronger on a daily basis?
Him communicating, we being together and sharing the most time as we can and understanding one another.
Okay. So the number one who make your love stronger, okay, is the communication.
Yes,
okay.
Most definitely, communication.
And after the communication, what make your love get stronger then?
Family.
The family. So you spend more time you try your best to spend more time
with the family.
With the family.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Our grandchildren, our children, and our families.
Okay. And what's all the items to make your love stronger?
Growing together as becoming one, a whole, and him being my partner I could see us sharing that as we get older together, being together, probably growing old together, and just sharing our love.
Okay. So you got the communication is a number one, and number two is
Family.
the family.
Mm-hmm.
And do you believe that the communication grow the trust?
Oh yes, most definitely.
Okay. And the trust now growing and make you more loving,
More loving, more closer.
more closer.
Yes, and most definitely more in love.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And did you agree to it, Mrs. Sharon?
Yes, I agree with what she said. I do, because I've actually been married, divorced, what have you. I've had experiences where communication was a critical problem for my marriage, and it actually ended up breaking up my marriage because it was such a strong element that we didn't really anticipate how important it really would be. And then what ended up happening was it ended up tearing us apart. So that's definitely a key. I see that as a key. And it does build that trust because the more you communicate with that person honestly from your heart, you really end up getting closer and closer with that person because they let you into vulnerable areas.
Yeah.
And so those vulnerable areas help you to grow in that because it's you seeing the bare person rather than you seeing some appearance of someone. You know, they put together this nice wrapped up package, but instead you're seeing the package unwrapped. So that's really key in that element.
So if I understand really well what you're saying, Mr. Sharon, so your previous relationship, you were missing the communication.
Yes.
So
definitely.
you learned from it.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So you share to the public, so it is number one key
Yes.
to communicate.
Absolutely. To communicate whether the information you share is good or bad.
Okay.
Because I think some people try to, shield you or try to, only tell you certain parts. And really, if you don't share the whole thing, you're still not really doing that honest communication. So it's essential that you open up, you leave that fear behind, and allow that person in.
My experience as well, I agree to it, is I've been married as well for over 10 years, and the 10 years of my experience were terrific communication, but it's failed, any type of reason, and I strongly believe that the communication is number one, because the communication growing, when communication is there, that growing the trust,
Yes.
and the trust now make you love the person more and more.
Yes.
However, on my personal opinion is this: when trust go down, is because communication stop for any kind of way. Okay, that's me.
Yeah.
I don't know if Mrs. Erica, Miss Sharon, you agree, because
Yeah.
if you trust someone almost to death, and you see things change, I strongly believe because the communication fails in any kind of way or
Right.
stopping.
Right.
Do you agree on that, Mrs. Erica?
I do. I agree.
Do you agree on that, Mrs. Sharon?
Yes, I agree with that, particularly because that communication that caused that trust to now be, diminished or gone, that in itself, now you can't even allow yourself to really feel the way you should feel in a relationship. So it's not even, feeling like you are in that relationship together. It's almost like you're in it by yourself because the other person has kind of excused themselves by not communicating. So in essence, you now don't even have what you had at the very beginning, which was that relationship. Now, the two of you that were together, you're now moving apart like this instead of actually having that togetherness, that good communication, honesty, and that trust would bring.
Okay. And how we can share to the public when that situation happened, what would be the best way to rebuild that relationship? Personally, on my side, I strongly believe that you're supposed to have the one-on-one the one-on-one communication. That means you can take your partner out, have dinner, whatever, and talk about it. Because if you do not talk about it, is no way to resolve the
Right.
matter. If you want to resolve the matter,
Right.
but if you believe then it's not necessary to resolve the matter, you move on. Because
Right.
to me, life is really too short and beautiful to
Yes.
enjoy.
I agree.
Yes, yes.
Or you're in and trust your partner, or you're not in and
Right.
be by yourself and keep enjoying. Because by the
Yeah.
end of the day,
Right.
you will always will find someone compatible to what you're looking for to be happy.
I agree.
Yes,
Mhm.
definitely. Because what you're saying is so true. Is that I think some people, they have this situation where the communication becomes an issue, then the trust and so forth, but they don't make a clear decision whether they're going to be in
Or out.
And so they're fighting and warring against themselves when they don't have to. Because if they would just decide, am I going to go ahead and continue with this relationship and resolve myself to that? Or am I going to go ahead and end the relationship and I'm resolved with that? Because once you decide whichever side, you'll have peace about it.
Yeah.
But if you just keep on going back and forth, it's going to be a war with you. And, and all your thoughts and what you're doing instead of just making a clear distinction and
Yes.
choice.
I agree.
So, I agree on that. Well, you get certain people in a relationship, they don't see that side. They say fighting. Some other people strongly believe that with the time, he or her partner might change. Okay, so to me personally, it's a mistake. But what type of advice can we give into those people? 'Cause my personal advice is, if you don't see yourself with the person, if you do not communicate well with the person, the relationship falling apart, it's time for you to move on.
I agree.
Okay, but do you agree on that,
I
Mrs.
agree.
Rika?
I
Do you agree
agree.
on that, Mrs.
Well,
Shaw?
if I see definitely that, after, some time that, yes, it's not going to work, then I would move on. However, I wouldn't just make a snap decision based on the first time that person made a mistake and didn't communicate. I don't know if I would, jump to do that, especially, in a marriage relationship. I don't know if I would just jump to do that. I think I would think about it in terms of, okay, let me see if this continues. Is this a pattern of his behavior or not? Because if it is, then I feel resolved in saying, okay, no, he's not going to change that.
Sure. You just said that on the first time, okay? On the first time, you will not judge or whatever you call judging or make that thing. But if you, and we talk about communication is number one key, but I strongly believe if the communication is number one key, any mistake or error, okay, happening who doesn't match what you're looking for, will be better to have a straight conversation right away, okay? Because I strongly believe before you both decide to be in a relationship, you get some agreement, okay? And that agreement needs to be respected on both ways.
That's true.
So,
Okay.
the fact I do not agree that if the first mistake is made, because it's not a mistake. In a relationship, you will always got it up and down. But you have agreement you made in the beginning before be together. So when somehow the agreement go down any kind of way, it needs to be addressed immediately and move forward.
Yes.
If it's not, if you keep waiting, say, okay, let's wait tomorrow or next time when he does or she does that, that will create, it's okay, the first time you didn't tell me, so to me it's a thing. No, it's not, because it's not what I'm looking for. You know?
Okay.
That's me.
I understand what you're saying, because the issue, I guess, too, is you're saying that you all made an agreement. See, that's different than somebody just going into a relationship and they don't really know, per se, what that person's communication style is. Because people communicate differently, especially being that we have families that have poor communication where they don't even tell each other they love each other. You have people who have come from backgrounds like that, and you have others who everybody, is affectionate, they love each other, they hug each other, they greet each other, they have family gatherings, they have family birthdays, they have all of that, and it's a totally different thing. So if you're saying, yes, that you've all agreed upon, this is the way we will communicate, then yes, I do agree with you. But if you're saying that, we walking in casually, to this relationship. They may not always be in agreement per se.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying.
Personally, when I'm talking about agreement got different ways people see it. When you decide to be with someone, that mean personally that means that you already got the first and the second date and the third date and decide if that be your person or not.
Yes.
Okay. You get it? So what during the first date, before the second date happen, you already said, okay, that could be the one. So let's
Yeah.
do the second date.
Okay.
Are we agree on that?
Yes.
So, and is few of the things make you decide to go on the first date, on the second date. I mean, is what? He honest, based on your what you're
What you
looking
feel,
for. You know, he's honest, or he's hard worker, whatever case may be. Who push you to go to the second date?
Yes.
And now, the communication on the second date and the feeling, may you go to the third date. So you got step and step before you guys decide to be together. Because when you decide to be together in the relationship, you guys have some type of agreement.
Yes.
Okay, that's me. Maybe
No, I agree with
you know,
that. I
so
agree with that.
somehow
I agree
you
with
guys got agreement. Okay, and you decide to make sacrifice to make him happy any kind of way, and he make
Sacrifice to make you
to make
happy.
happy any kind of way.
Yeah.
Based on, that's what I'm calling agreement.
Okay.
So maybe it's okay. I would
Okay.
love you to be off on Sunday, whatever it is. Okay, or I love to go to church and would like you to be with me. And he loved to sleep. I don't know. Okay, so that sacrifice needs to be made to make you happy because that's what you're looking for to make. And maybe he wants you to cook whatever case may be, and you do that sacrifice. It doesn't matter if you don't know to cook or not. Okay, so that's what we're talking about agreement.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
But if that fail and you guys waiting, it's okay. Let's see next time if he does that. You already open the failure in your
The
relationship.
relationship. Yeah.
That's how I feel. 'Cause that's what happened in my marriage. Okay, so I don't know if it's the same situation with others or not. But as soon you let something fail, based on your agreement, you open the failure to your relationship. You maybe don't see it that way,
Right,
but
right.
it
I
is.
think, well, as far as my relationship, I think it was an appearance of honesty. See, there was a time where he was truly honest and so forth is what he said, but as far as what I learned, he wasn't being honest, and so when it became that those so-called honest moments were really deceptive moments. That's where it became a whole
breakdown
different.
became.
Yeah, that's what the breakdown was, because he appeared to be honest at the beginning. He appeared to be, however, in the end, he wasn't.
You just mentioned that in the beginning he was honest. In the beginning, so somehow that honesty changed based on agreement, or you let it slide something.
Yes.
So he
Yeah.
continued that way. Maybe
Somewhere along the line,
somewhere
he
made
didn't
a line.
catch.
You let slide. Okay, so he took that advantage to continue what he did. Okay.
Could be possible,
So
yeah.
we will have a break, and we will come back and continue the conversation. Okay, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back. Thank you.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to All About Love Talk Show. We have two guests again, Mrs. Erika Holmes and Mrs. Sharon Carlton. Once again, thank you to coming in. So we were on what is the secret of true love earlier, and we discussed about a few great way to actually growing the love, the communication, the trust. Okay, and we stopped earlier the way that we're talking regarding your experience.
Yes.
Then your ex was honest, and at the end was not honest. And I mentioned that he stopped being honest because somehow, okay, during your relationship, the trust or the communication failed.
Mhm.
You know, do you believe that happened?
I believe it failed, and I believe it was partially because there were times in which there were things that I guess he felt I wouldn't understand. So he didn't communicate those things to me. And so I guess it became a pattern for him just to not communicate those things that he thought I wouldn't understand.
Okay. Did you realize that during the relationship or after the relationship?
After it got towards the end, yes, I started to understand that more. But at the beginning and during, not so much until I discovered some specific things, and then I guess it became like a snowball. It just became larger and larger.
Okay. And you didn't discover them because you were too busy, or because you were blind in the relationship?
I think because he, in itself, I think sometimes you get in a relationship and in a certain part you're kind of blinded to, you know, certain faults and things that somebody has.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like that honeymoon period people talk about, where you really don't see everything, and then as things start to unfold and unravel, you start to see a lot more that you didn't see at first. Not that it wasn't there, but that, you know, you're now looking at more reality.
So what advice can you share now with the public based on your previous relationship and now?
Okay. Well, first I would say is, I think it's very important for you to don't shrug off things you have an inkling about.
True.
When you have an inkling in your spirit, or there's something that just doesn't
Sit
seem
right.
to add up, yeah, definitely don't trudge it off and put it to the side. You need to definitely go into more investigation on that, because I think if I had done that, I don't think that the relationship would have went as far as it did. And I think that would have been an easy closer to the relationship that would have actually kept me from a lot of hurt and a lot of pain. Where, you know, I ended up, you know, in divorce court instead of it being a situation where I discovered it while I was dating him. Therefore, you know, I would have known not to go into a marriage with him. And so I think, you know, just reminding people, don't just be so in love with the fact you're in love that you forget to think about things, and to know that when I feel that one feeling and I know something's not right, continue to investigate it just to make sure that you know there's nothing to it or there's something to it. Just do it anyway. The benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
Did you agree with that,
I
Mrs.
agree.
Erica?
I always say keep that third eye open. I do.
I agree with something I want to make. I mean, the comment I want to make as well in there, the thing is my personal experience. You just met, what knows the word investigated. To me, it's too khaki. That's me. Because in a relationship, I believe if I decide to be with someone, I mean, I put my trust to it, and I personally trust only once. That's me. So do the investigation. It's too it's too deep to me, because that means that you don't.
Yeah.
That's my personal.
Yeah,
opinion.
not necessarily
Because
that word. Like maybe
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying. Like just look at it further. You know?
Because that's why the first date, the second date, or
The third
the
date.
date or whatever date you guys mention is important, because if I'm going out with someone, I'm asking questions straight up. I'm very straight up honest. It's up to you to be clean now or to don't, because I don't listen to people. If I find out that your story you're telling me now doesn't match with the future, we're done and we
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah.
Okay. 'Cause in life, if you as well as look the Bible, read the Bible, it said you have to be honest in the beginning.
You do.
Okay, and it's up to you. When you're honest in the beginning, if the person really did want to be with you, he or she will be with you. Okay, if not, somebody else will. But always be honest in the beginning. Okay, that is my personal opinion. I don't know if both of you agree, but
Well, I
do
kind
they-
of have a mixed feeling about that because I think sometimes, depending on what you're being honest about, it can kind of be a very interesting situation. Case in point, let's say a lady decides to be honest about maybe some abuses that have happened to her in her lifetime or some things that have taken place. And instead of the person really seeing it as a person being honest, they kind of see it as, I can take advantage. Yeah, she has an opening. She's kind of like, she has this vulnerability, because there's some wolves out there.
I agree. I mean, I agree on that in different ways. That's why we call. When I say be honest, is during the conversation when you go out, okay, to know someone. You guys make conversation for hours, right? To exchange your passage and that you say, okay. And at the end of the conversation, you guys decide what both of you looking for. You guys can have, okay, right now, after spend time with this person, I have a chemistry with him or with
Or
her.
not.
Yes or not.
Right.
You already can have some idea. That's why you decide to do the second date on
Yes,
that.
yes.
Okay.
Right.
So if your chemistry is already there on the second date, you continue because you will never know someone until you die. That's me, my person. You can be with someone 50 years, 20 years. Every day you will learn something new to the person.
Exactly.
But as long as the communication is there, the trust will be there.
Yes.
And when the trust is there, the love is there. Okay? But if the communication starts to drop or slow down any kind of way, the trust drop and slow down any kind of way, and the love as well do the same. To me, it's like a chain.
Yeah.
More communication, more trust, more love.
I agree. I agree with that.
Do you agree with that, Ms. Thing?
That's true.
Okay. So let's wrap it up on this topic. So today we learned the secret of true love is number one, the communication.
Communication.
The number two is the trust, and the number three is love. So what we're sharing to the public is what?
Communication.
Communication, trust, and love.
love.
Okay? And do not let anyone do what?
I would say do not
Let
let
you-
anyone take advantage of saying that they love you if there's not the communication isn't there,
Exactly.
or the trust isn't
Isn't it
there,
Yes.
or the love isn't
Isn't
there.
there.
I would not go into the relationship at all. I would
Exactly.
say always be mindful of the person that you're talking to, and if the chemistry doesn't work, it doesn't work. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's
I
okay.
perfectly agree with you. It's
It's okay.
okay. The life is
okay.
really too short and beautiful to enjoy it.
I
You
get
will
it.
always,
That's right.
always find someone
Who will
okay,
love you, right?
who will love you,
right?
And
then
you will love them.
and you love them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So love you the right way.
Exactly, everybody. So the second topic today, ladies and gentlemen, would be what is a real friendship? Okay. Mrs. Erica, I'm pretty sure that you claim to have a lot of friends. What friendship mean to you?
Friendship means to me is someone who I have the honor of calling a sister friend. That's like a sister to me. Someone I can trust with my secrets. Someone I can go to and talk to about my day. Someone that could share and understand my feelings. And most of all, someone who is close to me and my family.
Okay.
That's what my friendships are. And I have many friends that are sister friends to me for over 25 years since moving here to this area. So
Okay.
today, are they still my friends today? They like my sisters.
And Mrs. Sharon,
Yes.
what's a real friendship to you?
A real friendship is built on trust, and it's really it's a relationship to me that's limitless because I feel like I do whatever that person would need, and they do the same for me. And we support each other, we lift each other up, we pray for each other, we comfort each other whenever we're mourning and having different situations that happen. We celebrate when each other gets married. We pretty much go through all these life experiences together, and we are there as pillars for each other.
Okay. But I personally agree with that. However, to me, is that include the partner you have, because your partner is to me is a number one friend, best friend, lovers, and everything, because you will never have or trust someone more than your partner. Okay? But if your partner do not return that friendship back like you deserve it, so that means it's not the right person to you. Okay? And a lot of people claiming she's my friend. Okay, but doesn't know exactly what friendship mean and is.
Right.
Mean and is. Because I got to share my personal life experience. When before I got my accident, I had 100 friends. I thought we were friends. I really thought, because they would come to me always for a reason. Okay, but you mentioned earlier blind. I was blind to see that. Okay, until my parents told me, you got to be careful. Are you sure he's a friend?
Yeah.
I will mention yes. I said, well, I don't know what type of friend, but I was blind to see the reality. But during my accident and after my accident, I didn't see no more friend. They was gone. No more friend, period. So I learned in a hard way as well.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
So that's why we call this what is a real friendship. Okay? The friendship is you need to be with someone, okay, who supports you morally, who's there for you. Then you share your day, the bad or good, share experience, bad and good, okay? It will be there for you, doesn't matter what. And why and how that happened is happened based on what you mentioned earlier, Mrs. Erika, the communication, the trust, and the love. Okay, that we mentioned earlier as well. Because there's no way you can support someone if you do not communicate well with the person.
Right.
And there's no way that will be happen if that communication do not grow, okay, to bring the trust. Okay? And that trust will bring again the love.
Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty much what real friendship is.
I agree.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we will actually go back again on a break and be right back and start to wrap up the second topic, what's real friendship. Thank you.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back to All About. Go back. Sorry. You ready? Welcome back to All About Love Talk Show. I am Mr. P, and we have two guests today, Mrs. Erika Holmes and Mrs. Sharon Carlton. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you.
We start to enjoy really the show. So we were on what is the real friendship.
Yes.
And before we went on the break, we discussed about the real friendship is based, again, number one, on the communication, number two, on the trust, and number three, on love.
Yeah.
So we all agree on that?
Yes.
Any suggestion or advice to share to the public?
Well, I think something is very interesting about what you said. When you said you thought you had hundreds of friends prior to your accident, which you didn't realize until afterwards or during that time, that they really were associates. They weren't really friends. They were associated with you. They went places with you. You talked with them and so forth, but it was, to them, it wasn't the same. So I think one of the things that I'm picking up is that it has to be a mutual, relationship. Like if you're picking up that the person is not really mutually in it with you, you owe it to yourself to be honest with yourself to know that, hey, this person is not going to return what I want them to return. So I need to, now say, am I willing to accept that? or am I not willing to accept that? Because if you are willing to accept it, then you can go forward and everything's still going to be fine. However, if you have unhealthy expectation of something that's never going to happen, you're going to be disappointed in the end, like
I
you
agree.
experienced. Yeah.
I agree with that, but let me ask. You mentioned earlier on a previous topic on the secret of was the secret of true love, that you were blindly in love, so to see what you saw.
Right.
It's the same scenario as well that I had during the friendship.
Yeah.
When you have friends or you believe a friend, you're blind in a kind of way because you don't see, okay, further what you're supposed to see. So now, then you learn the lesson. I learned the lesson. Okay. Now I carefully choose friend. Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. But if that situation didn't happen to me, I would never, see what I just saw. Okay. So it's difficult to actually see people. I mean, your mistake when you are in the relationship, what kind, friendship or whatever it is,
Right.
But what I strongly suggest to people is to don't do the same mistake that I made.
Right.
It doesn't matter what type of relationship you're in, you need to be able to actually open your eyes and pay attention before they get in. Do not be blind, okay, because you are in a relationship.
Yes.
Okay. If that don't work the way it's supposed to be, I mean both ways, that means you're happy to make that person happy and he or she return the same happiness than you looking for and deserve, you move on.
Right.
You know?
Right.
We
Absolutely.
both agree on that?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. So next time, the next topic will be abuse men and women in the relationship. Mrs. Erica, you told me before, and you told the public, that you are on your second relationship. So honestly, you have a previous relationship. What do you think, and why men or women are abused in a relationship? Or do you believe that?
I believe that. I mean, abuse doesn't necessarily mean beating. It could be mental, like for instance, Sharon said that would be a mental abuse when she, didn't have the communication, then she was in love. For me, I understand that, because we get into relationships and we put so much into the relationships, and then a turn can happen where we missed to make that turn, and we turn away and try to forget it. That puts mental abuse on your mind and stuff, where you go around and say, oh, I'm going to give it another chance or whatever. But then you have to look at it and you have to wake up and say, is this for you or is it not for you? I don't want to be in an abused relationship. I want to be in a loving relationship. I don't want to abuse anyone either. If I done something to abuse someone, or it's not meant intentionally, but maybe it's just not the relationship for me that I need to be in. So, getting out of that relationship, not making that person feel uncomfortable, not making yourself feel uncomfortable, and most importantly, not making yourself feel that you need to be in this relationship, that you need to get away from it, because then that's when you find yourself being in an abusive relationship where your mind is tearing apart, your soul, your body, everything just needs, seriously, so you just need to do a reevaluation and say, is this for me?
Mrs. Sharon?
Well, I think definitely if there is an opening, sometimes abuse can seep in. I just think sometimes because we have different backgrounds and different things that may have occurred with us, that some of us are more susceptible to being abused than others. Not to say that they won't be, but some people are able to be stronger, and some people are still in that state of being weak. And so sometimes when that situation comes up in their relationship, some people are able to stand, some other people are just kind of think, well, maybe this is what I deserve. Like there's some people who are in different, different scenarios here. Some people are very strong. They're like lions, and some other people are like lambs, and they just kind of, go along. And it's sort of like, you don't want to see somebody in that lamb state, but because of what they've been through and what they've experienced, they may have seen their parents do the same thing, or they've seen their grandmother do the same thing, and so they don't know how to get out of that cycle. Whereas the strong person may have been in that cycle and was able to overcome it, and now they're stronger than ever before. And so I think in that abuse, in terms of that, it can be a situation that can either help you to grow your strength, or it can cause you to foster more of their weakness. And that can be a really detrimental, whether you're in husband-wife relationship or a friendship. Because a friendship, you could have people who talk to you any kind of way, and you think that they're your friends, and they're really not your friends. But because you're so weak, they just continue to use you, continue to abuse you, and you still keep giving because you don't know any better. And so, there's not going to be, it's not going to be a good outcome from that for that weak person, and they're always going to be continually hurt, and that's a bad cycle. But the person who decides, look, this is just enough, and they stand up, and they really start to see, hey, these people are not my friends, and they start to remove, that friendship from their space, then they can make room for the good relationships. And that's one thing that I think is key, is that you're making room for those relationships that are good, because in your space you got this surrounding area, and you choose what surrounds you. So you have the power and the control to control your atmosphere, and that person has to take control and say, look, I'm not going to have this keep on happening to me. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to get people who are around me, who love me, who care for me, who support me. And so that's who I'm going to fit in my circle. And so they make that decision, and those friendships just come out of nowhere, just like that.
I agree. When you add something based on my experience, is abuse in the relationship to me is wild. In a way, you got many ways to abuse. Okay, you mentioned earlier that it can be mental, yes, it can be moral, and as well it can be on a day-to-day life. Okay, because people, when they heard abuse, they go jump and said it's only beating.
Physical,
Okay, it can be, it could be moral, like I mentioned earlier, in a way that you can actually be miserable at home. Okay, then you decide to, after work, go to your friend because you don't want to be battered or any kind of way, or the way that sometime when you guys get divorced or separated, okay, because everything you work for, okay, the woman took it, but it's not her fault. That's how that works, okay? Or maybe that goes as well on the woman ways, when everything she worked for, somehow the man as well took it. He can steal it with it. So that's a piece of abuse as well. Or the effort you mentioned earlier, you sacrifice everything you put to it to support your man, and he actually do not respect that. That's part, to me, is abuse as well. All the effort the man put to the relationship, or the woman actually doesn't care, any kind of way, that is a piece as well of abuse. And is very sad, that's the thing, but it's a reality, And to me, again, that happened for the same reason. Miscommunication, or no communication, or bad communication, okay, who actually bring again the less trust, or no more trust, and no more love. It's the same thing. We keep going and going again. That's how to break it down. Because if you have communication, daily communication, who will bring and we grow the trust, and who will grow the love, that abuse relationship will not happen.
Mhm.
You know,
Mhm.
that's
right.
me.
That's
That's
right.
my
I
personal
agree.
experience.
Mhm.
Yes?
Yes,
Do you agree
that's
on that, Mr.
absolutely
Sharon?
right.
You agree
I
on that?
agree. Yep.
Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, today with Mrs. Sharon Carlton and Mrs. Erica, we decide the three main the three main word of all about love today is the communication, the trust, and the love to make our relationship, friendship, and abuse relationship stronger. Okay? Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again next Sunday at 5 p.m.